Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and today I'm going to be doing a versus video between the Nike Kyrie Infinity and the Nike KD 15. So the Kyries are going for 130 bucks and then the KDs are going for 150 bucks. So there is a $20 price difference. If you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. But let's get started off with the traction. And as far as the overall bite goes, the KD 15 is better. You know, the KD 15 has an amazing bite. You're gonna be stopping on a dime. It also squeaks a lot louder than the Kyries as well. The Kyries are a lot more silent. Once you break it in, it starts to squeak a little bit more, but it definitely isn't as loud as the KD 15. So yeah, I mean, the Kyries still have an amazing bite. You know, they have a very solid bite, but it just doesn't bite as hard as the KDs. If you're playing on a dusty court, they're both really, really good. You know, super easy wipe. I mean, the Kyries don't really pick up that much dust. So that's a good thing. The KD 15 picks up a little bit of dust, but it's a very easy wipe. You just go 1-2 times and you're good to go. And so yeah, if you're playing on a dusty court, they're both amazing. You're gonna have a very, very good time. If you're playing on an outdoor court, they're both terrible. The grooves are super thin and the rubber is really, really soft in both of the shoes. I would actually say the Kyries are a little bit softer, but the KDs are still really bad. So yeah, do not play with either of these shoes on an outdoor court. I feel like you'll run through the outsole very, very quickly. So for me, from my experience, the KD 15 just is better overall than the Kyries, although the Kyries are still really, really nice and a solid choice for traction. One thing that I like about the Kyries though is the outsole curvature. I mean, to be honest, it's not as curved as his older shoes like the Kyrie 2, 3, and 4, but we still have a little bit of a curve here. So it kind of keeps you on the medial side of your foot, you know, if you're doing like the shifty moves and stuff, as opposed to the KDs, you know what I mean? Which is a little bit, or actually a lot more flat. So there is a little bit of a bonus for the Kyries. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, they're both smooth. So here in the heel for the Kyries, we have a nice curve shape. You have a fully exposed midsole, a nice curve shape in the forefoot, and a lot of forefoot flex and midfoot flex. Torsional support isn't the best in the Kyries. The KDs, however, same thing, you know, rounded shape here in the heel. We have good compression from the midsole, and then here in the forefoot, we have a nice curve shape and a lot of forefoot flex. But torsional support is good. But the thing is, I don't really have a whole lot of feet problems in the Kyries. Like my feet didn't hurt all too much when I was playing in them, like my arch or anything like that. Arch support seemed pretty good as well. So there's that. You know, they're both pretty damn smooth for heel to toe transition. All right, moving on to the cushioning setup. So they're very, very different, right? So here in the Kyries, of course, we have a 4-foot zoom strobel unit, and the zoom strobel unit in the Kyries isn't segmented, right? So you can definitely feel a little bit more like a rolling over effect, as opposed to the full length zoom strobel unit in the KD 15, which is segmented. So it just kind of feels bouncy in one spot, especially in the forefoot, but basically throughout the entire length of the shoe, right? So that is a huge difference. And also the Kyries have better court feel. The KD 15 also, it has good court feel, but the Kyries are lower. It has very, very good court feel, almost on par with like the Hardens, right? So like in the forefoot and in the heel, you feel lower to the ground. But if you want a little bit more heel cushion, of course, the KDs are better just because you have that full length zoom strobe unit, especially in the heel, right? And then you also have the Cushlon, which has good compression. The Kyries, of course, with this foam is a little bit more stiff. So if you're doing heel strikes and hard impacts in the heel, obviously the KDs are better. Overall impact protection, also the KDs are better. So in my personal opinion, I mean, like, I don't really like the Kyrie zoom strobe unit sometimes. Like, it's a lot, you know, it's a crazy setup. So in my personal opinion, I like the KD cushioning setup better. Although the court feel in the Kyries is still really, really good, the KD 15 is still nice. So because of that, I like the KD 15s more. All right, moving on to the material. So the Kyries, we have this like textile material, super thin, very easily moved, and goes from the forefoot all the way here into the midfoot. And same thing with the KDs. We have a mesh material and it goes from the forefoot all the way here into the midfoot, super thin, very, very easily moved. It conforms to your foot very, very well. Not the most supportive material for both of them, right? But they both feel really nice and minimal on foot. As far as the tongue goes, the Kyries have quite a bit more padding. The KD 15 also has nice padding, but the Kyries are just crazy, right? And then here in the ankle area, the Kyries also have a lot of padding. So if you want something a little bit cozier, especially in the back of the shoe, obviously go with the Kyries. I mean, in the forefoot and midfoot, they both feel very, very nice and minimal, comfortable, it conforms to your foot and all that. It's just the back of the shoe is like what I felt most as far as the difference goes. If you want something like still well padded but more minimal feeling, then obviously go with the KDs. But if you want something more cozy, then go with the Kyries. As far as the material quality goes, I would say the Kyries are better. You know what I mean? Like this mesh material isn't the best for quality, especially for 150 bucks. I actually like this textile material a little bit better, and there's like leather materials as well, you know, in the ankle area. Like it's actually pretty nice. And then for the KDs, I mean, this material in the heel is definitely not the best. So material quality, the Kyries are better, but on foot, in my personal opinion, I actually like the Kyries a little bit more, just because here in the back of the heel, it doesn't feel too bulky. It doesn't feel like too heavy or anything like that. It just feels nice and cozy. It's nice for me. And then I really like how it gets super minimal in the forefoot, right? Although the KDs are still super nice. All right, moving on to the fit. I went true to size for both of the shoes, and they both fit me very, very well. As far as the length goes, they're both good for me. You know, my toes go pretty much right to the edge of the shoe. Although the Kyries, they're really, really snug lengthwise, right? So if you don't like that, then go up half a size. Widthwise, they're both narrow, but the Kyries, I would actually say, is a little bit wider. The KDs are actually super narrow. And also here in the toe box, the KDs are a little bit more snug as well. I mean, the Kyries, like this textile material does stretch out, and as you guys can see, like has a little bit more space here in the toe box. The KDs also stretch out a little bit, but it doesn't have as much space. It's a little bit more snug in the toe box. So contrary to like all the other Kyries, which is super snug in the toe box, the Kyries, they kind of like loosened it up a little bit, made it a little bit roomier, which is very weird, right? The KDs, of course, it stays true to all KD sizing, and it's very, very snug and very narrow, right? So for me personally, I like a very snug fit, so I like the KDs a little bit more, but the Kyries are still very, very nice. All right, moving on to the support and lockdown. So for lateral containment, I was good to go for both of the shoes, right? So the Kyries had very good lateral containment. You know, I have a lot of like material coming up here in the forefoot. We have an internal heel counter as well. So lateral containment, I was good to go in the Kyries. Same thing here in the KDs. You know, my foot was locked into the shoe. Of course, we have this midfoot cage, right? You guys can see on the lateral and medial side of the shoe, which is pretty interesting. So lateral containment, I was good to go in both of the shoes. Heel slippage was a little bit of an issue for me in the KDs. I mean, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't a deal breaker or anything. It's just that my heel didn't feel fully locked down in the KDs. But you know, I definitely got used to it. When I played a couple of games in it, I was like, oh, I'm used to it now, I'm good to go. But when I switched into another shoe that had good lockdown in the heel, I definitely noticed a difference, right? The Kyries, I had zero issues with heel slippage. So of course, if you want great heel lockdown, then obviously go with the Kyries. But like I said, for me personally, it wasn't a huge issue in the KDs. Also for ankle support, I mean, the Kyries, of course, it's a mid top, but I mean, I still had good ankle mobility, so I wouldn't say it had like great ankle support. The KDs are a low top, so I mean, it's just a little bit better feeling because there's no material over your ankle bone, right? So I mean, if you want a little bit more ankle support, even though the ankle support isn't great in the Kyries, then go with the Kyries. But personally for me, I like low top, so I go with the KDs. Also, lateral stability is good in both of the shoes. They're both very, very wide. Actually, the Kyries look a good amount wider. Look at that. Wow, that's crazy. But I had no issues with lateral instability for the KD15, so I tied up there. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. The Kyries are probably lighter, right? The KDs are like average weight, like 12.73 ounces. The Kyries are like a little bit lighter, right? 12.31. What? I thought the Kyries were gonna be a lot lighter than that, but anyways, it is a little bit lighter. They're both very responsive shoes. I would actually say the KDs feel a little bit more responsive just because the traction is a little bit better, and also because of the segmented zoom unit, my foot feels a little bit more stable inside of the shoe, as opposed to the Kyrie like forefoot zoom strobe unit feels a little bit more unstable. You know what I mean? So because of those reasons, and also there's a little bit more compression, right? So I feel a little bit quicker in the KDs, although I still feel very quick and responsive in the Kyries. All right, as far as the ventilation goes, they're both good. I would actually say the KDs are a little bit better just because we have some ventilation holes in the tongue and it's a low top. You know what I mean? The Kyries, there's more padding and some mid top, so it's a little bit warmer for the Kyries. As far as the aesthetics go, I don't know, guys. They're both really good looking shoes. I feel like, I like the KDs a little bit more. So tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this is a pretty tough one, but in my personal opinion, I think the KDs are a little bit better. You know, it's just, I wish there was no heel slippage. You know what I mean? If there was no heel slippage, then this shoe would be perfect. It would be amazing, just like the KD 14, right? The Kyries, like I said, traction isn't as good as I would like, and also the cushion is it's not as, I don't really like the Zoom strobe unit in the forefoot too much. You know, I wish they would segment it a little bit, make it a little bit more stable, or maybe make it a little bit thinner or something. It's just a little too crazy for me personally. So because of those reasons, I would say I like the KD 15 more. And I feel like I would recommend the KD 15 to you guys as opposed to the Kyries. Of course, if you're trying to save money, it's $20 cheaper, then it's a great option. But if you want the overall better performer, in my personal opinion, get the KDs. But anyways, that about wraps up this versus video. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.